Hey, party people. Tony Rowe, back. I'm hitting him with the good luck, have fun. Against Demonique. A German. A rare transposition to the French defense from 1d4. Usually that doesn't end up being a mainline French. Yeah. In my experience, that has never been done when my opponent is going to play like knight c3 or knight d2 here. Almost no one, when my opponent starts with 1d4, plays this way. I've noticed that. Like, I always get Black Mardemered, or they're like some savage who plays the exchange French or something. Okay, I'm going to play something weird here. This is a line I've looked at a little bit, inspired by Georg Meier, who plays this a lot online. And the idea is simple enough. So black is going to put this knight on c6, which of course pressures these key central pawns, which, okay, he can do in one move with knight b to c6 on move 4, but black intends to go b6 and bishop a6. And of course, the only way black can get rid of this sort of terrible dark squared bishop, light squared bishop, is to keep this knight on b8. And so that's the idea, is to just go bishop a6. And if white goes a3 here, intending b4, then black will go a5 first, and then bishop a6. And here, bishop takes a6, knight takes a6, queen a4 is possible, but black can just go queen a4 with a double attack on these knights. But black can either just go queen c8 and protect both of them, or knight back to b8. And so this is certainly a little bit on the stodgy side as far as chess openings go, but should I take on e2 first? I'm thinking yes, because the knight on a6 is generally not all that exciting. So I think I'm going to take on e2 and not give him the chance to put my knight on this crap a6 square. And then I'm just going to go bishop e7. And so I've succeeded in getting rid of my light squared bishop. I have had to spend some time to do that, of course. But when white closes the center, it's not super likely that he can punish me too severely for that. In some of these lines with bishop a6, white is really quick with bishop takes a6, knight takes a6, queen a4, knight a to b8, and then like they can blow open the center with c4, which is reasonable. But in this specific position, I'm not too worried about any of that stuff. One challenge here is that when you put this knight on c6, this knight doesn't have great locations. So you do get rid of your light squared bishop, but I think it's a little bit of a struggle to find a good home for this guy, because on d7, of course, is available, and you guys might be screaming like, hey, it's, you know, on a normal square, it's doing some stuff, but it's not really doing some stuff on d7. So that's one of the challenges with this line is, and I still haven't, I think, fully figured out what I'm supposed to do with this knight on d7 yet, but maybe this game will afford me some education here. I'm not sure. I think given white's space advantage, he should probably try and work something up on the king side. Not super easy, though. I mean, a typical plan, I mean, this kind of pawn structure, if you guys aren't familiar, there's kind of a rule that says you should play in the direction that your pawn structure points. So in this specific case, white's pawn structure in the direction of, you know, least space to most space is pointing to the king side. And so white's space carves out a little bit of a space advantage for him on the king side. And that you're supposed to break sort of right next to your furthest most, I'm not sure that's a word, pawn. So white should be striving to probably play f5. And in this structure, that's a very common break. But this knight on f3 is not all that easy to reposition to a good square to allow f4. Note that with the rook on e1, white can't go knight e1. That's a common way to go, but in this specific position, that's not possible. I'm like half tempted to go c4 and close up the center and just try and play on the queen side. So I would go c4, and of course my pawn chain points this way, and with this pawn here, my furthest most advanced pawn would sort of point to me trying to break through with b4. And so I would be trying to play c4 and after b4 paint c3 as a weakness, and perhaps play b takes c3, b takes c3, and put a rook on b2, get at this a4, a3 pawn, a2 pawn rather. I'll get it right eventually, etc. I'm not sure I really want to do that yet. I might play like a cagey move, like I don't even know. I'm thinking about rook b8, but I'm also deciding whether or not it's better for me to just wait and play rook c8 instead. If I intend to take on d4 at some point, rook c8 is obviously quite a bit better. But if I intend to go c4, maybe rook a to b8 is better. But if I intend to go c4, should I just play c4 right away is the question. And not decide on where my pieces should go yet. Is a5 a move? Intending to just push it as far as I can get it. My idea is that maybe a5, a4. If I just get to go a3 and white takes it, then I get to play rook takes a3, and a2 and c3 is weak. So b takes a3 is completely positionally unplayable. So if I go a5, a4, a3, and white replies with b3, then after c takes d4, like something like knight b4, a2 is weak, and now the c3 square, because white has played b3, is also a little bit loose. So I'm thinking that might be a way to create some weaknesses on the queen side. And if I go a5, a4, and white decides to play a3, then I think knight a5 is interesting, trying to capitalize on these light squares, weak light squares created by white. So let's do that. I'm not super excited about playing the closed structure after c4, at least not yet. Closing up the center sort of frees up white's hand on the king side, and so in a practical sense, I'm just not super ready to do that yet. I could. I don't think it's bad. I think c4 is probably playable, but I think without the light squared bishop and with white's, I in my opinion, sort of awkwardly placed pieces here, my king side doesn't feel super in danger at the moment. But a4, I didn't see that coming. Now I'm tempted to just take here and put a knight on b4, now that I've got this sort of beautiful square. So I can go, I don't know. I could wait, of course, and just leave the tension. I could play something like rook c8. Yeah, I'm just going to go rook c8. I might play rook c7, queen b8, rook f to c8, or, yeah. Whoa, knight b1. Okay, so that's actually an interesting move. He's saying he's going to slam something on this square. I'm not super worried about that, because knight a3 right now, I can play c takes d4 and bishop takes a3. I think I'm probably just going to continue with rook c7. Or should I take first? I don't like taking first now because that gives white's knight the c3 square. Okay, so I'm just going to play rook c7. I don't know that this plan is any good. It's the plan that sort of comes to my mind first, is just to go queen b8, rook f to c8, and then when it's convenient, take on c3. Of course, I'd be very happy if he took on c5 for me. I would play b takes c5. Have these center pawns have this backward b pawn on an open file to play against. So I think this is just positionally totally unplayable. I'm not sure about this move. It's an interesting idea, but now that I notice that knight a3 can be met by c takes d4, I'm a little bit less optimistic about it. I don't think it's bad. I think going into this position would be kind of interesting because after giving up my dark square bishop does significantly, I think, increase white's chances of a kingside attack working because I don't have a dark square bishop anymore. All of a sudden, things like bishop g5 to f6 come to mind, or bishop g5, queen e3, with like bishop f6 to come. I don't know. It looks a little bit sketchier. So he elects to not do that. Not sure I blame him. Okay, but I think I'm just going to follow up with queen b8 anyway. Rook f to c8 up next. Ooh, did I have c4 there? Did c4 trap his queen somehow? It might have. Let's go back. I was too quick. So if c4... what does he actually do there? I guess he always has the a6 square, but that looks kind of tenuous. b3 maybe? Yeah. I think c4 was incredibly good there. If c4, b3, which is the only move I can sort of think of, knight a7, queen a6, c takes b3, that has to be much better for black. So I wonder if I can go c4 now. Oh, that's irritating. That's bad. Okay, but c4 now, what happens? So if c4, b3, knight a7... Well, c4, b3 just hangs a piece, so that's sort of a non-starter. And probably actually loses more, because after bishop takes a3, I'm threatening knight a7 again, and also... Well, is knight a7 a threat? Queen a6 is possible. Feels like c4 is the move, though. What's my threat? So if I play c4 and white plays some lame move, do I have an idea? I'm not sure. But it feels like c4 is the move. I'm going to play it. Maybe queen c8, knight a7 is my threat, or queen b7 and knight a7. I need to take away this a6 square. And if knight a7, queen a6, I'm not sure I see... I guess I have... I mean, this is a little bit more convoluted. Yeah, that doesn't work. Knight a7 and then organizing knight b8 somehow would trap a queen, but it's not easy to do that. So I guess probably queen b7 is the most serious way to trap the queen. So if b3 is queen b7, b3 just hangs a knight. I'll get there eventually in remembering that one. So I'm a little lucky here in that white has given me an extra chance to trap the queen, trap the lady. Queen b5 looks natural. It's an awfully weak square in black's camp, but shut the door on her. Locked her up. It could be that white's only real option here is knight takes c4. Eventually. I mean, I'm not threatening anything yet, but queen b7 and knight a7's coming quick. Like b3, queen b7, I wonder about. B takes c4 and then just knight a7. But then, yeah, he can get out through some of these squares. Ooh, that one. Interesting. Well, at the very least, I can just bag that pawn, which seems like the most natural idea. If queen b7, b takes a5, knight a7, and queen b2 or something gets out. If knight a7, I want to trap the lady, I just don't see the way. But again, I said I would eventually get it, but queen b7, b takes a5 is not really possible because the bishop takes a3. So knight a7 is just kind of a brutal threat now. Queen b7, that's the one. Oh god, I was just like faking it. All right, well, we're playing it now. Oh man, I hope it's good. I hope it's as good as I think it is, because in just diddling that piece around, I moved it. This is great. This makes for instructional content. Yeah, seems good. I don't see a great way for white to get out. Knight takes c4 might be the only option. But now that the pawn is on b4, that's not all that compelling either. I mean, there's just too much material there, I think. What time is it? 7:07 Tony time. Plenty of time. That one I'm simply not sure about. By I'm not sure about it, I mean I think it's just a pretty terrible move. Okay, so just queen takes, or should I play knight takes? Probably just queen takes. Let's just trade some stuff. Let's just trade everything. My opponent has an a pawn, but I have a piece. Pieces are good. Tony Rotella, August 25th, 2016. Quote unquote, pieces are good. Okay, so I can, let's just take this thing. Play knight a5. I'm guessing he'll take with the pawn. He doesn't have to. Ooh, knight a5, rook a1 maybe. Ooh. Okay, well I don't have to worry about it. Just trade off some stuff. Again, these pieces are, I'm not saying my knight on d7 or really any of my knights are really all that great, but white's having a hard time giving these things a useful task. So what do I do here? I want to play takes, knight a5. Doesn't appear to be working after rook a1 though. White doesn't really have a threat. I don't really have a threat either. I could just wait and play something really lame like h6 and just make some luft and take away this square from all of his pieces and challenge white to find a reasonable move here. Not a bad idea. Rook a7 actually is, now that I look, is thinking about playing h6 and then rook a7. But rook a7 right away just seems good, huh? Yeah, let's just start with that. Yeah, this seems fine. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday. BattleBots is on. Ooh, resignation. That was too easy. Oh my god, I crossed 2,400 people. I did it. 2402. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Let's not make the same mistake I did in the last video. Studies. If I was smart, I would have this open already. Most popular is not what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's add a chapter. Okay, so yeah, as I said, For whatever reason, if my opponents play d4 and I start with e6, and they decide to go into the French, they almost universally never play the two most popular moves. I don't know why, but that just happens to be the case. So we get an advance, and I play this sort of silly knight e7 idea. This is just me directly copying Georg Meier's online games. I don't know if he's ever played this in person, what he plays against the advance in person, but I've seen him crush people with this line on chess.com quite a bit. And whoops. As I said, the idea is that after knight f3, you put this knight on c6, and you use the other knight to support the profitable exchange of light squared bishops with bishop a6. And a3 here is possible, and I think black should probably just go a5, stopping b4, and again, just going to continue with the same idea. I think if bishop g5, black can even just go queen d7. Maybe bishop e7 is better, because you're going to have to go bishop e7 anyway, even if you go queen d7. So maybe just bishop e7, trade these things off, and then go bishop a6 anyway. Castles, bishop a6. You can probably castles first, but this is all kind of typical stuff. Probably, I sort of feel like white should take here, because at least in this case, your knights are not perfectly placed. Like, you can see that white scores really, really well after queen a4, actually. I'm not sure that theoretically this position is all that dangerous for black. I guess people just have run into problems. I noticed in all of the games that white won, white had a relatively significant rating advantage in all of them. 100 points, 210 points, 50 points, etc. So I'm not sure. Stockfish doesn't think too much of it. Like c4. I remember looking at this. I'm not sure what I decided was good. Probably this is something I should know, because it's a critical try. Stockfish seems to think queen d7 is the best move. I'd be tempted to play something just like very simple. Yeah, that looks kind of dicey. Why is this better? Ooh. Okay, I get it. All right. That's good to know. Okay. Cool. But yeah, I think that probably bishop takes a6 is just the only real try for an advantage here. After this, I think black's position is just a little bit more harmonious, less real problems. No bad light squared bishop to think about. Black's small space disadvantage has been alleviated a little bit by the exchange of one set of minor pieces. Overall, white is at least, white is at most just a very tiny smidge better, if anything. And it is kind of compelling to play c4 now that white has committed the rook to c1. White's saying, okay, I'm prepping for the open file, and you just sort of say, okay, well, I'm going to close that file down. But I don't know. I guess, yeah, I'm not sure how white would really progress the attack in this position. If I was white, I would think about something like h3. That seems incredibly lame. But I think white needs to reposition this f3 knight somewhere. So something like knight h2, knight g4, knight h2, f4, f5, f6, even as a pawn sacrifice, is worth considering. Yeah, I mean, this position, I think if black has good nerves, maybe this position is slightly better for black, but it does look a little bit scary. I guess I can just take there. Yeah, queen f3, threatening f5. It does look a little bit dicey. And against a lower rated player, that's the kind of stuff I'm just trying to avoid. I'm kind of happy with a5. Something like h3 now, maybe a4, knight h2, a3, b3, takes, knight b4 perhaps. This position's interesting. I'm not sure. Unclear. Unclear. Knight b1. Thing I like about this move, even though it might not be the best move, I think it displays some understanding and critical thinking for my opponent. I don't think that these pieces, minor pieces, are particularly well placed in this case. They look fine. They're well centralized. I'm not saying they're bad, but where does white go from here? And I think part of the problem is that his pieces are just not that well placed, and there's no real pawn break available for white here. And so, I think improving his minor pieces and looking for some kind of pawn break or play on the king side is where white needs to be going. So something, again, like h3, knight h2, that looks a little slow, but it's hard for me to see anything much better. Yeah, knight b1, knight a3, knight b5 is an interesting idea. Again, probably critical would be something like this. Who the hell knows what's happening here? One nice thing about having the pawn on a3 is this knight all of a sudden doesn't have any real squares. Queen b8 is the most natural move. Rook c2, rook fc8, rook a to c1. Yeah, I guess knight e7 to f5 is probably the way to go. h6 might be a move that I would also just play here sort of instinctively. That was worth considering. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I wanted to see if c4 was good here. Yeah, sure is. Queen a6 immediately. Oh dear. I think if you let this, if this local stockfish could go to higher depth, it would think white's position was even worse, most likely. Yeah, like now it's starting to say knight a7 is stronger. It's one of these positions where this depth limited stockfish is not going to be all that much help to me. Knight d2. Yeah, now it sort of gets it. Yeah, queen a8 I think is quite good. And black's queen is going to run out of squares. White's queen is going to run out of squares, rather. That might be curtains. Yeah, so probably c4 is just game set. And I missed it. I just played too quick. That is one, that's like, these are the kind of games that when I'm trying to work on my time management, as I am perennially trying to work on my time management, that like really sort of, like just screw me up. Because if I would have thought maybe a minute longer with how fast I found c4 after queen b8, I might have found c4 on this move, and it would have been totally worth that extra minute. But there are some games also where I think for 3 minutes in, a 15-minute game, and I find nothing of consequence. And I should have played a move like queen b8 after 20 seconds instead of 3 minutes. And chess is a cruel game. But I think here already probably white is losing. So it's likely that queen b5 is a mistake, queen b8 is a mistake, and knight a3 is a mistake. Everyone missed c4 for a while, and then finally I find it. And most likely black is winning from here because this queen is just completely off sides. What's better? A takes b4, c takes b4, knight a7, queen a6, bishop b4. Ah, with just a simple double attack, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of material. A pawn and an exchange, presumably, would be it. So, yeah, I mean, I got so focused on queen b7 that just taking the pawn simply, for whatever reason, I did not connect that I was hitting the rook at the same time as the knight. However bad a visualization error that is. And I was just really sort of one train mind focused on on this queen trap idea. And then, you know, white throws himself on the sword here with b takes a5 and just loses a whole hunk of material here. Yeah, and probably a slightly premature resignation, but not all that premature. White's down a piece with no real compensation. A4 is most likely hanging, and I'm going to further trade pieces with down the b file. So, yeah, I mean, 2 quick games, but I hope you guys learned something from this game and the game before it. Both quite fast. You know, sometimes you can't really control that, but I'm happy to take those 2 wins nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think people should study openings nonstop and have it be the only thing. But I do think that my last couple games, maybe my last 3 games or so, are pretty good examples of why it does pay to study the opening and understand the typical positions that you're going to get out of the opening, because I don't know, at least for me, for the most part, I don't feel like I had to invest a lot of thought until maybe 12a5, and I already was pretty comfortable. And in the last game, my opponent was much worse directly out of the opening and then immediately blundered. And in this game, I feel like I thought about a5, and then I thought about this plan to play rook c8 to c7 and queen b8, etc. And before you know it, I was winning. And in the last game, I played opening theory, and my opponent deviated, and I thought, and I found the right move, and that was it. And even in the French Rubinstein game 2 games back, I mean, you know, I played some Rubinstein theory, and then I played, after my opponent deviated, the most obvious moves to me, and already I was pretty comfortable. And yeah, I mean, just getting positions that you understand well, you know where your pieces go, you know what the plans are, you know how to play them, etc., is worth a lot. There have been actual studies that show that people tend to play better in positions where they're better. So I'm not saying people tend to win more from positions that they're better in, because of course that's expected. When you're better, you're going to have a higher expectation. I'm saying that they're, okay, if you want to use Lee chess terms, that their average centipawn loss, how accurate they play relative to a computer playing, is better when they're in more comfortable positions. So it's harder to play a position that's slightly worse for you. It's easier to play a position that's slightly better for you. So I think, you know, not only do you gain the benefit of just, you know, getting positions that you're familiar with, getting positions that you're comfortable with, but also you have an added bonus that the more you're better, the better you will play, which is a weird thing, but it's true. So, okay, I hope you guys enjoyed these last couple of videos. I will be back with more, of course. I will see you guys later. Bye, guys.